10.
New England now infected with Ebola. The Rhode Island man about to head back to the U.S., and we learn more about that first case diagnosed here.
And
the Ebola crisis reaching new levels tonight and infecting another New England native. A photographer from Rhode Island is sick now, on his way back to the U.S. as the city of Dallas, Texas reacts to serious questions about the man being called Patient Zero. Armed guards now being used to keep some of his family isolated in quarantine. And that's not all. Let's get you up to speed right now on the very latest with Fox 25's Heather Hedges. Heather.
Good evening, Aachen. Fear continues to grow nationwide tonight as this story continues to spread out geographically. Here's what we know right now. First, late this afternoon, the White House held a news conference seeking to reassure the public that there is little chance of an outbreak in this country, and they announced up to 4,000 troops could be deployed to West Africa soon to begin long-awaited aid to Liberia, including working on the construction of treatment centers there. A White House advisor also announcing right now the U.S. is not considering any kind of travel ban to prevent people in West African countries from coming here. Meantime, in Dallas, CDC officials say they have now tracked down all 100 people said to have had some kind of direct or indirect contact with Thomas Duncan. That is the infected man now in isolation in a Dallas hospital. 4 of Duncan's family members remain under quarantine at their Dallas apartment. Today, helicopters captured a hazmat team there, scrubbing the place down and removing items. And back in D.C., a patient exhibiting Ebola-like symptoms being treated at Howard University Hospital. That patient had recently visited Nigeria. The hospital says they are treating him or her out of an abundance of caution, and they do consider that person to be a, quote, low-risk exposure. But this, as only a few miles away in the D.C. suburb of Rockville, Maryland, the Shady Grove Adventist Hospital confirming it is evaluating a patient who had symptoms and a travel history that would be consistent with an Ebola case. However, that hospital says lab results did come back positive for a different illness. They have said that they do not have a confirmed diagnosis of Ebola with that patient, but they also wouldn't go as far as to say the Ebola test came back negative either. Other potential patients in several other states have been tested, but the good news is they have all come back negative for Ebola as well. I'm Heather Hedges, Fox 25 News.
All right, Heather, thank you. And now back to that man from Rhode Island, a photographer who will now be sent back to Nebraska Medical Center for treatment. It is the same place Holden doctor Richard Sacro was taken for his recovery. Our John Monahan has more from that Rhode Island man's family tonight.
The 33-year-old Ashuka Mukpu is in isolation in a Monrovia, Liberia hospital. Mukpu is from Providence, Rhode Island, and his parents got the news firsthand. His father via a text saying he was in trouble.
I called him, and he was obviously very upset and felt he had developed a fever and was feeling some muscle aches.
His mother got the call Thursday.
Yesterday, Ashoka called me himself from the hospital Doctors Without Borders in Monrovia and told me that his test had come back positive.
Despite taking precautions, his mother says he still came down with Ebola. Mukpu is a trained journalist and started working for NBC News just this week. A day later, he quarantined himself. He's now being treated by Doctors Without Borders, but is coming back to the U.S.
We will be tremendously relieved once he gets on that plane, because from what I understand, the plane is equipped similar to an ICU.
Mukpo spent the last couple of years in Liberia doing humanitarian work. He was home this summer, but returned when he heard about the Ebola outbreak.
He feels a tremendous commitment to the Liberian people and to the Liberian culture, and when he heard about the Ebola outbreak, he felt compelled to go back.
His family says he'll be picked up from Monrovia and be flown to Nebraska for treatment, but every minute waiting for his return is excruciating.
Although, of course, it's extremely nerve-wracking, needing to wait 2 or 3 days before he can be back to get optimum medical care.
And his dad is also counting the minutes. But as a doctor, he knows that once home, his son will receive the best care to beat Ebola.
I know that if he gets the right medical care and he comes back here and gets adequate intravenous rehydration, he'll actually do okay.
John Monahan, Fox 25 News.